Make a lavender infused oil in hours, not weeks, with the magical butter machine. All of us are quite familiar with using the essential oil of lavender, but did you realize you can also make an infused oil with lavender? Now, I normally try to use my own herbs, but I cannot grow lavender here in East Texas. Now, there's other part of Texas where you can grow lavender, but we're too humid. Now, I might back up and say I can grow lavender, but I will have trouble with it growing a fungus if I do because of the humidity. Now, the old-fashioned way of making oil, any kind of infused oil, would be to put it in a jar, mix it with oil, let it set from 2 to 6 weeks, depending on which herbalist you're listening to. But I'm going to do it in one day with the magical butter machine. But to make it more, to extract more of the properties and make the oil more stable, first I'm going to pre-treat it overnight with some Everclear. Now, if you've studied herbs for any length of time, you'll know that herbs all have better methods of extraction. Some of their properties are oil soluble, some are water soluble, and some you need alcohol. So I'm taking my 2 ounces of lavender, and you can see that makes about 2 cups. And I'm going to pre-treat it with Everclear. Now, I don't want to get it wet, I just want to get it moist. And with most, usually that's going to be about a tablespoon per ounce of herbs. So, but you need to just kind of start out with 1 tablespoon and see how it goes. So, I'm just going to kind of mix it up. And like I said, I don't want it dripping, I just want it moist. And sometimes this may be called the rehydration method. So I think I need just a little bit more. Like I said, this is 2 ounces and I expect it to use 2 tablespoons. Now you can put this in any kind of any kind of container that you can put a lid on it. So I like to use my canning jars. When it comes to herbs, all of your canning equipment is your best friend. I like to use the funnels and I like to use the wide mouth jars. Okay. I'm going to fill that up. I'm going to put my lid on it. And we're going to let this set overnight. And then tomorrow we'll make our oil. Now when you're doing this method, if you don't get around to it the next day, if you don't get around to it to the next week, that is okay because it's been moistened with Everclear. Now you could not do this with water, but you can do it with Everclear. Now this is totally optional. The rehydration method will make your herbal oil more stable, and it may extract certain properties of the herb that the oil would not, but you may smell the alcohol in your oil. Now this is not for those who are expecting the essential oil of lavender. You just are not going to have that aroma. Now the Everclear rehydration ratio is 1 tablespoon of Everclear per 1 ounce of weighed dried herb. Now Everclear is 190 proof grain alcohol. Now if you can get 100 proof vodka, that would work. Now here in Texas, our vodka is 80 proof. Because you're working with oil, you want as little water as possible, which is why you're using the higher proof of alcohol. Now I'm ready to make my lavender infused grapeseed oil. Now I could have used olive oil, I could have used avocado oil. There's several things I could have used. Now the standard ratio is 1 to 5 or 1 to 7. Now I'm going to start out using a 1 to 7 because my magical butter machine has a minimum of 2 cups. So if you start with 14 ounces of grapeseed oil and the 2 ounces of your lavender buds, that's going to bring it up to 2 cups. But we're going to see how this turns out. When you're working with herbs, you know, it's not, you've got a lot of leeway with what you're doing. And you just have to kind of use some judgment and some experimentation. Now this is my 2 ounces of lavender buds that I set, well, it was really a couple of days ago. I moistened it with Everclear. Now you need to let it set for at least overnight or even a few days. So now I'm ready to mix this in with my oil and see how it does. I'm going to let this set about 5 minutes. Now it looks like to me that it really could use a little more oil because I want it to flow freely, and it seems just a little bit tight. So let's come back in about, since it's been rehydrated with Everclear, it shouldn't be absorbing too much more of the oil. But we're going to wait about 5 minutes and come back and look at it. Now the standard ratio of making an herbal oil, a tincture, whether it's glycerin or alcohol, would be a 1 to 5 or 1 to 7 or even as much as 1 to 9. That is 1 ounce of dried herb weighed to 5 ounces of liquid oil by volume, or 1 ounce of dried herb by weight to 7 ounces of liquid oil by volume. Because herbs have a different density, such as roots versus flowers, the ratio will change according to the herb. The standard oil is olive oil, and for making a medical salve or oil, olive oil would certainly be great. Now, I normally use my oils to make skincare, and I find olive oil to be too greasy, and it has its own unique aroma that I find unpleasant for skincare. Now, if using the old jar method or heating your herbs and oils, the herbs would first be powdered. Because the magical butter machine chops and heats the oil at the same time, I do not pre-chop the herbs or powder them when I'm using the magical butter machine. Okay, now this is really pretty thick and not flowing as freely as I would like it to. So I'm probably going to add another ounce to this. Now I'm going to pour it into my magical butter machine. Okay, I've put the head on. I'm going to plug it up. Now I want to set the temperature for 130. And when you're doing your oils, you have a choice between 1 to 2 hours. Now because this is lavender flowers, which are a little more delicate, I'm going to set this for an hour. If it had been roots or bark or seed, I would have gone for 2 hours. Okay, we'll come back in an hour and strain this. Now for my lavender infused oil, I used 2 ounces by weight of dried lavender buds. And I did hydrate them in 2 tablespoons of Everclear overnight. And I used 15 ounces of volume of grapeseed oil. And then after I finished straining it, I used 2 teaspoons of vitamin E. And I set my temperature for 130 degrees Fahrenheit, and I timed it for 1 hour. Okay, the magical butter machine has beeped. I'm going to unplug it. And I'm going to use the magical butter filter to strain this with. Now since I soaked the lavender flowers in Everclear beforehand, it still has a little bit of an alcohol aroma to it. So when I get through straining this, I'm going to let it set so some of that alcohol will evaporate. And then I'm going to add some vitamin E to it. The sponge is so handy. It really it gets it through there. Because this is an oil, I am not going to let it set closed up like this. I want it to cool off naturally where there won't be any condensation to create any moisture problem in my oil. Now, after straining my oil, I remove the top part of the filter so that the alcohol aroma, some of it could evaporate. And when the temperature dropped between 100 to 110 Fahrenheit, I stirred in 2 teaspoons of vitamin E. Now, I left the oil uncovered until it completely cooled before I capped it, because you do not want to create any condensation. You do not want to create any kind of moisture to contaminate your lavender oil. Now, lavender infused oil does not have the great aroma of lavender essential oil. It will not have the same aromatherapy benefits. You're going to use it topically for its medical properties. Now, you can use it topically, you can massage it into your temples and back of the neck for headaches and shoulder strain. Rub it into your muscles for spasms and muscle aches. Topical inflammation, use it for eczema, red and swollen skin, and red spots. Rub it into your joints for pain and stiffness. Rub it on your feet and hands for sleeplessness, tension, and stress. Now, lavender infused oil is a great cell regenerator, but do not put it on fresh wounds or burns. Now, it's okay for minor nicks and scrapes. Use lavender oil after the wound has started to heal. Now, this is great for skin care to reduce inflammation, soothe irritations, and to fight bacterial, fungal, and viral infections. Now, lavender infused oil will not be as effective as using the essential oil for relieving insect bites and sting. Now, I do have videos on making infused oils without the magical butter machine. And you can either follow the link or scan the QR code for my YouTube videos on making infused oils with dry herbs. And you can check out my books on Amazon. They're in paperback and Kindle, and both books have YouTube links to the videos that I've created. Homemade Medicine and Lotion Made Easy using the magical butter machine, or Homemade Skincare Workbook, which is for those who do not have a magical butter machine. And you might be an herbalist if you make lavender infused oil. I'm Carolyn Gibson at Carolyn Gibson Herbalist.